A wealthy driver walks into Judge Caprio's courtroom convinced the rules don't apply to him. He isn't just any driver. He's the son of the city's police chief, a young man used to doors opening, tickets disappearing, and people stepping aside when he raises his voice. Today, he's facing charges for assaulting a decorated military veteran during a road rage encounter. A simple traffic dispute, he says. But the reports paint something far darker. Shouting, shoving, and entitlement boiling over. From the moment he steps inside, the temperature of the room changes. Phone in hand, sunglasses still on. No glance toward the judge, no respect for the space. No acknowledgement of the elderly veteran sitting quietly in the back row with a bruise still fading along his cheek, and then he does what no one expects. He laughs, actually laughs, when his name is called. But what followed became a lesson money couldn't buy, because today's story isn't just about a reckless driver or a bruised veteran. It's about status versus accountability, ego versus respect, and whether someone raised on special treatment can handle a courtroom where none of that matters. In Caprio's court, everyone starts as equals. Some rise, some fall. This young man is about to learn that difference. Before we begin, tell us where you're watching from because entitlement looks the same everywhere. It's 8:42 a.m. on a gray Wednesday in Providence. The kind of morning where the courthouse feels half awake but already buzzing with stories. The hallways smell faintly of coffee and rain-soaked jackets. Inside courtroom 1, Judge Frank Caprio settles into his chair with the quiet ease of someone who's seen thousands of cases but still treats each one like it matters. The bailiff leans subtly toward him and murmurs, "Judge, just ahead." Our next defendant's been pacing in the hallway, complaining loudly, said something about this being a waste of time, and he's been filming people without their consent. Caprio nods, not irritated. He adjusts his glasses as the young man strides in. Evan Dolka, 24, son of the city's police chief. He walks like the floor owes him stability. Designer jacket, bright white sneakers, and that practiced look of bored superiority. He doesn't remove his sunglasses when he takes his place at the podium. Instead, he pulls out his phone, checks something, and sighs dramatically. Everyone sees it. The veteran he allegedly assaulted sees it too. The case file sitting on Caprio's desk is thick for a traffic incident. Inside, a report describing how Evan cut off an older driver near the highway exit, rolled down his window, and started shouting. The older driver, retired Army sergeant named Paul Molina, tried to calm things down. Words escalated. Evan stepped out of his car. Shoving followed. The officer responding recognized the name and called back up immediately, knowing how scrutiny might fall if anything went sideways. Evan's record isn't long, but it's messy. A handful of warnings. A few dismissed citations. Nothing major because someone always made a phone call. As Evan waits for Judge Caprio's attention, he taps his phone against the podium. Not fast, just enough to make it a performance. When the bailiff asks him to silence it, Evan rolls his eyes and mutters, "Seriously." The courtroom isn't large, so every sound lands with weight. A few people exchange glances. A mother with 2 kids quietly shakes her head. The veteran sits in silence, hands folded, eyes steady. What's striking isn't Evan's behavior. It's how familiar it feels. The impatience, the entitlement, the assumption that this will be another day where consequences slide off his back, but today isn't one of those days. Judge Caprio lifts the case file, glances at the first page, and looks up with the calm patience that has disarmed far tougher personalities than this young man. "Good morning, Mr. Dalka." Evan doesn't look up from his phone. "Yeah," he says, flat and dismissive. "Can we make this quick?" The words hang in the room like a cold draft. There's a subtle ripple through the benches, a soft, collective inhale. Even people waiting on their own cases straighten like they've just witnessed a line being crossed. Caprio doesn't react right away. Instead, he lets a moment of silence settle, the kind that feels deliberate, the kind that communicates more than raised voices ever could. When he finally speaks, it's gentle, almost too gentle. "When you address this court," he says evenly, "you do so with respect. Please put your phone away." Evan gives a half laugh, relax. "I'm just checking something. It's not a big deal." The bailiff shifts his stance slightly. A mother ushers her 2 children closer to her side. The veteran, Paul Molina, watches with a mixture of disappointment and fatigue, the look of someone who's seen arrogance before, but hoped he'd seen less of it in civilian life. Judge Caprio folds his hands. "Mr. Dalka, I'm asking you a second time. Put the phone away and remove your sunglasses." The young man lifts his head, finally making eye contact. His grin is small and sharp, the kind people wear when they're used to winning arguments they shouldn't have won in the first place. "You know who my dad is, right?" The entire courtroom reacts, not loudly, but noticeably. A whisper here, a raised eyebrow there. Everyone knows what that sentence usually implies. Everyone knows what people try to get away with behind it. Caprio doesn't blink. "I know who you are," he replies with a tone that is neither confrontational nor indulgent. And in this courtroom, everyone is treated the same, no more, no less. Evan sets his jaw, gives a theatrical sigh, and drops his phone onto the podium with a soft slap. He doesn't silence it. He doesn't pocket it. He just throws it down as if to say, "Fine, you win." For now, Caprio continues. You're here today regarding a traffic violation and an alleged assault on Mr. Molina, who is present in the courtroom. I'd like you to confirm your understanding of the charges. Evan smirks. Yeah, I get it. Some guy got in my face. I defended myself. End of story. The veteran's eyes close for a moment, not in anger, but in sadness. Evan doesn't notice, or doesn't care. Caprio tilts his head. Mr. Molina is a retired Army sergeant. According to the report, he did not engage physically until after you initiated contact. We'll discuss that shortly. For now, I need your cooperation. Evan shrugs as if he's bored at a dentist's appointment. Sure, whatever. Let's just move on. It's a small moment, but the courtroom feels the shift. Respect meets ego head-on for the first time, and neither has backed down yet. Judge Caprio leans back slightly, studying Evan the way someone studies an unexpectedly aggressive dog, calmly, without fear, but with full awareness of its unpredictability. Mr. Dalka, he says, before we proceed, I need your verbal acknowledgement that you'll follow courtroom procedure. Evan waves a lazy hand. Yeah, whatever you need to hear. Stage 1, interrupting. Caprio starts to speak again, but Evan jumps in mid-sentence. Look, Judge, I don't know why we're making a big deal out of this. I barely touched the guy. He stumbled because he's old, not because of me. A simmer rolls through the room. The veteran, sitting perfectly still, doesn't flinch, but his daughter beside him does. Her eyes flash, though she stays silent. Caprio raises a hand for quiet. Mr. Dalka, do not interrupt me, and do not disrespect Mr. Molina. Evan rolls his eyes dramatically. Okay, fine, my bad. Happy, but his tone says the opposite. Stage 2, insulting the system. Caprio begins reading the police report. Evan starts muttering under his breath, loud enough to be heard. This is such a joke. Total waste of taxpayer money. Unbelievable. A man in the back row shakes his head. Someone else whispers, wow. The bailiff's posture stiffens another inch. Caprio keeps his composure. If you continue speaking out of turn, I will hold you in contempt. Evan smirks. Wouldn't be the first time someone in this building overreacted. Stage 3, flaunting connections. When Caprio asks him to describe the incident in his own words, Evan leans forward, elbows on the podium. Judge, listen. If the responding officer had known who he was dealing with, none of this would have gotten written up. They always call my dad when something like this happens. Usually gets sorted out before it gets this far. The room goes still. A bold admission, and a dangerous one. Caprio's voice drops a half step. Still calm but colder. This is precisely why we're here, Mr. Dalka. To determine whether you believe you're above the law. Evan shrugs. I mean, you tell me. Stage 4, demeaning ordinary people. Caprio gestures toward the veteran. Mr. Molina was simply trying to merge. According to witnesses, you became aggressive. Evan laughs under his breath. Witnesses, please. Half these people can't even drive. Have you seen this city? Everyone's clueless behind the wheel. People bristle. The courtroom isn't big. He's insulting the very people sitting feet away. The veteran's daughter whispers. Unbelievable. Stage 5, hinting at walking out. When Caprio asks a clarifying question, Evan throws up his hands. You know what? I don't have time for this. I actually have a life. If you want to find me, find me. Otherwise, I've got places to be. He reaches for his phone again, as if the hearing is optional. As if the judge's authority is a mild suggestion. The bailiff steps forward, subtle but noticeable. The audience goes silent. Even Evan pauses, realizing he's poked something solid. Judge Caprio doesn't raise his voice. He doesn't lean forward. He simply exists with more authority than Evan has ever encountered. Mr. Dalka, he says slowly, you are dangerously close to crossing a line you cannot uncross. The room holds its breath. The tension palpable now. Feels like the moment before thunder breaks. And for the first time, a flicker of uncertainty flashes in Evan's eyes. Judge Caprio turns a page in the case file with careful precision. The kind of slow, deliberate movement that signals something important is coming. Mr. Dalka, he says, we're going to review the moment of physical contact. I want you to listen carefully. Evan blows out a sigh loud enough for the first 3 rows to hear. Oh my God. Again with this, and that's it. Not the words, the tone. The bailiff takes 1 step closer. Caprio looks up, meeting Evan's eyes directly. You will not speak until I finish. Evan scoffs. Seriously, this is ridiculous. He turns as if to walk away, 1 foot pivoting off the podium. Gasps. Actual gasps fill the courtroom. The bailiff moves in instantly, not touching him, but ready. His presence shifts the entire atmosphere. The casual vibe evaporates. Suddenly the courtroom feels like what it truly is. A place where respect is not optional. Caprio's voice cuts through the tension, soft, but immovable. Mr. Dalka, return to the podium now. The word now lands with a firmness that freezes Evan mid. He turns back, jaw tight, ego bruised. He walks slowly, almost defiantly, but he returns. Caprio continues. This is your final warning. If you walk away again, you will be held in contempt, taken into custody, and this hearing will proceed without your input. The courtroom goes absolutely silent, the kind of silence that carries weight. Evan swallows hard. His confidence dims, even if he tries to hide it. Caprio reads the report. The shove, the veteran losing balance, the moment bystanders stepped in. His voice is steady, never accusatory, just factual. When he finishes, he looks at Evan calmly. You are entitled to defend yourself with words. You are never entitled to put your hands on another person, especially a man who served this country. Evan starts to respond. The inhale is there, but Caprio's raised hand stops him. One more interruption, Caprio says quietly, and this proceeding changes direction. For the first time, Evan's expression falters into something unfamiliar. Uncertainty, maybe even fear of losing control. The power in the room shifts, not with shouting, not with punishment, just with the undeniable presence of a judge who refuses to be bent by arrogance. The chaos is over. Authority fills the space. Judge Caprio takes a breath, not tired, but measured like a man about to say something that needs to land exactly right. Mr. Dalka, he begins, I'm going to outline the consequences of your actions, but I want you to listen not as the son of a police chief, just as a citizen who made choices. Evan shifts his weight, arms crossing tight, as if bracing for a storm. Caprio continues, for the moving violation, failing to yield and creating a hazardous situation, the standard fine is $100. Evan nods once, dismissively, like it's nothing. But Caprio goes on, because your behavior escalated the situation, and because multiple witnesses corroborated aggressive driving, I'm adding a reckless operation penalty that brings the total to $350. A few people in the audience glance at each other. It's fair. It fits. Evan still looks unimpressed. Then Caprio turns the page. Now, the assault charge. That word alone wipes the smirk from Evan's face for the first time. The shove was witnessed. It caused Mr. Molina to lose his balance, and he sustained a visible injury. Because of that, the court is issuing a civil penalty of $800, plus mandatory anger management sessions. Evan's mouth opens in disbelief. You're kidding. For a shove? Are you? Caprio raises a finger gently, not angrily. You are not to interrupt me. Silence snaps back into place. Caprio continues. And finally, due to your conduct in this courtroom, the interruptions, the disrespect, the attempted walkout, I'm issuing a $100 contempt penalty. The courtroom absorbs this. No shock, no gloating. Just the feeling of fairness settling into the air. Evan shakes his head. So that's what, like $1,200. That's insane. Caprio's voice becomes firmer, not harsh, but the kind of firmness that feels like both truth and consequence. This isn't about money, Mr. Dalka. This is about accountability. Every person who sits in that seat is expected to act with basic respect for others and for the law. You chose not to. He taps the file lightly. You've avoided consequences before because of who your father is. That ends today. Not to punish you, but to help you understand something essential. Responsibility doesn't skip families. There's a stillness in the room, the kind that says the message landed exactly where it needed to. For a long second, Evan doesn't speak. He just stares at the podium like the numbers themselves have insulted him. His jaw flexes. His nostrils flare. You can almost see the battle happening inside him, pride versus reality. Judge Caprio softens his voice. Not to pity him, but to make room for something different, Mr. Dalka, he says. Before I finalize this ruling, is there anything you'd like to say? Not to me, but to Mr. Molina. The veteran sits straight, hands folded in his lap, looking at Evan with a calmness that makes the moment even heavier. Evan's first instinct is to scoff. The breath catches in his throat as if he's ready to spit out another sarcastic remark. But something stops him. Maybe the presence of the bailiff, maybe the silence in the room, maybe even the realization that his father won't be able to clean this one up. He exhales. Long and shaky, he doesn't lift his head at first. I didn't think it was that big of a deal, he mutters. Caprio raises an eyebrow slightly. Look at him when you speak. Evan hesitates, then turns toward the veteran. His eyes drop almost immediately. Mr. Molina doesn't glare. He doesn't scold. He simply waits, steady, patient, the way only someone who's seen far worse can wait. Evan swallows. Look, I shouldn't have shoved you, he mumbles. I was angry. I was stupid. His voice cracks unexpectedly, and he clears his throat fast. I'm sorry, all right? I didn't mean to hurt you. It's not eloquent. It's not polished. But it's real, raw, and stripped of that earlier armor. The veteran nods once. Anger happens, he says quietly, but it doesn't have to control you. Evan blinks, caught off guard by the kindness in the man's tone. The courtroom releases a breath it didn't realize it was holding. Judge Caprio lets the silence linger, giving the apology space to settle, to mean something. The arrogance hasn't vanished completely, but for the first time, humility has a foothold. Judge Caprio folds his hands, giving Evan a long, searching look. Not judgmental, just deeply human. The way someone looks when they're deciding not what punishment fits, but what lesson will actually reach a person. Mr. Dalka, he begins softly, you made a mistake. Several, in fact. But mistakes are not what define you. What defines you is what you do next. Evan shifts uneasily, eyes lowered again. Caprio continues, voice steady as a heartbeat. You're a young man with every advantage, a good family, a stable home, opportunities many people in this room could only dream of. But privilege is not a free pass. It's a responsibility. He leans forward just a little. In this courtroom, character counts more than currency. A pause. The line hangs in the air like a truth everyone already knew but needed spoken aloud. Your father's position doesn't buy leniency. Your bank account doesn't buy excuses. And your attitude doesn't buy exemption. He lets that land. Respect is free and required. The veteran nods gently, almost imperceptibly, as if the words reflect a code he's lived by his entire life. Caprio turns the page of the file and taps it lightly. You're not here today because of a traffic violation. You're here because of a pattern, a belief that the rules bend around you, that other people's dignity is negotiable. I want you to walk out of this courtroom understanding something clearly. He lifts his eyes, locking onto Evans. Your success does not earn you a discount on decency. People in the back row murmur softly. Not gossip agreement. Caprio finishes with a tone that feels like the closing of a lesson, not a lecture. If you take this experience seriously, you won't be back in this room again. And if you don't, eventually life will teach you the same lesson, but far less gently. Evan nods. Slow and quiet, no bravado left. The courtroom feels calmer now, like a storm has passed and the sky is settling back into blue dot. As Evan steps back from the podium, the courtroom slowly exhales. The tension that once sat heavy in the air fades into something quieter, something reflective. Moments like this don't just stay in a courtroom, they echo out into the world, because everyone watching sees a bit of their own experiences in them. You think about the people you've met at work, on the road, in school, who let power inflate them like a balloon drifting too close to a flame. Maybe you've seen someone talk down to a cashier. Maybe you've watched a driver cut everyone off like the road was built just for them. Maybe you've even been on the receiving end of it. And there's a question Judge Caprio's courtroom always seems to ask, even without saying it aloud. Have you ever watched someone let their status make them forget respect? And if you were, standing in that room today, watching this unfold, would you have handled it differently? These cases aren't just legal lessons, they're human ones. Because in the end, we're all judged by the same things. Our choices, our character, and how we treat the people who can't give us anything back. And so, Evan Dalko walked out of Judge Caprio's courtroom a little quieter than he came in. Not defeated, but changed. He learned something his status had never taught him. In this room, respect is earned, not bought. The veteran left with dignity. The judge left with his usual calm. And everyone watching left with the quiet satisfaction of seeing fairness delivered without anger or cruelty. If stories like this resonate with you, stories where compassion and accountability walk side by side, then you're in the right place. Subscribe for more cases where justice speaks with heart, where every person gets heard, and where dignity always wins. Thanks for being here. Until the next case. Stay kind, stay fair, stay human.